Okay, what's up, everybody, and welcome to another episode of FGC Talk. It has been a while, but we're back. I'm your host, Jard, along with my esteemed panelists. Let me introduce everybody. First, I have Nick Conant, aka Scythe.
What's going on, folks? I know you missed my voice.
Mike Gonzalez, aka Eraldo Coil.
Hello.
Javier Garcia, calling all the way from Japan.
Hey, what's up, everyone?
And then finally, our top player, Marvel's Custom Zone, XSK Samurai.
What's up, everyone?
So, today we're going to do an episode and kind of talk about Evolution 2015. Tuesday, Mr. Wizard released the games that are going to be eligible for this year's biggest tournament. So, without further ado, let's just kind of jump in and get into the discussion. So, Mr. Wizard revealed that there is going to be 9 games at Evolution 2015.
Is that an all-time record?
I believe.
Is that the most?
I think so. Yes, because I think last year was 8 for main games, and then this year is 9. So he released a schedule for 9 games, as you guys can see on the screen right there. Ultra Street Fighter 4 and Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3 were the first 2 choices. I'm pretty sure.
No-brainers.
Yeah, no-brainers.
Right.
The other games, and I'll just run them down the list, and then we'll kind of get started. Smash Brothers for Wii U, Guilty Gear Xrd, Killer Instinct, the new game Mortal Kombat X that's coming out in April, Persona 4, Ultimax, Super Smash Bros. Melee, which to most wasn't a huge surprise either. And then probably the one that shocked a lot of people, including me, was Tekken 7, that's going to be played on arcade cabinets.
They're going to wheel in the arcade cabinets for that one.
So I guess the first thing that I kind of want to go over with you guys and just get your thoughts is, what did you guys think of the game lineup? I guess I could start with Nick. What did you think of the game lineup when you saw it?
I think it's a really good lineup. Honestly, there's really nothing to bitch and complain about. There's something for everybody. You got the 2 big mainstays. You got Ultra, and you got Marvel. You have the new Smash, and of course, the community's favorite Melee. You got 2 anime games. You got Mortal Kombat. You got KI, and you got Tekken 7. And like I said, they're going to be wheeling in the arcade cabinets for that one. And then, of course, there's the inevitable side tournaments. So really, there's something for everybody for this EVO. I got no problems with this lineup.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that. I think we've had some confirmations of some really good, I think it was Guilty Gear players or anime players. And of course, we're going to have a lot of international players coming for not Ultimate Marvel is coming, but more for Street Fighter. So same thing like last year, it's going to be a really, really big event and more international showings, hopefully.
Killers everywhere.
Actually, I have a quick question. So, like, what are some of the games that didn't make the lineup? Like, the only one I can think of off the top of my head is Skullgirls, but like, what else?
Skullgirls.
Most
Well, I'm not
notably,
sure.
King of Fighters.
Under Night.
King Fighters.
Yeah, Unio is not going to be there. But are they having any side games at all, or they're just going to?
Oh yeah, well, there's already been confirmed Dead or Alive 5 side tournament run by Big E,
Okay.
and I'm sure there all the other communities usually show up. So
Yeah. And let's face it, this is EVO, so that means there will be Super Turbo in some capacity at some point.
That's my other question, because they've always had some kind of exhibition. They've always had some top Japanese players come down. So we'll see.
I expect that, just like last year, I expect that there will be a Skullgirls side tournament. There will definitely be Marvel 2 has seen a resurgence. I would say Marvel 2 would be there. Blaze Blue could be another game. Blaze Blue surprises me a little bit because how hyped that Grand Finals was last year. That kind of surprised me that wasn't on the list as a game coming back. But that game will be there in some shape or form as a side game. But I think as long as all these other games, they will be there in some shape or form. But it's going to be really interesting since this is the biggest lineup that we have seen, how they're going to handle it with the scheduling as far as let's say, for example, Sunday what the finals day could be. But before we get into that, like, is there any game like that? 9 games is a lot. But was there any game that you guys were surprised that made it in, or maybe a game that you guys wanted in that didn't get in?
Well, Injustice is pretty much good and dead, just like everything else I love. So, moving on.
I was surprised that Unio didn't make it. I was more surprised that it didn't make it and Persona made it. But just because it seems like the Unio community has been really showing up at a lot of the majors, that's why. Like, even at this last tournament, what's the one going on right now? The Frostings or whatever? Unio's one of their bigger ones. It's got more entrants than Blaze Blue and Persona.
I'm a little surprised that Blaze Blue didn't come back, just considering how massively hyped the grand finals were for that last year. I mean, that was a game that, let's face it, the majority didn't have a very big interest in, and yet, in the end, the grand finals for that game became like the talk of the entire weekend, really.
Well, maybe because Guilty Gears came out, people maybe are focusing on that one instead. I don't know how... I've heard some stories about the Blaze Blue community and the Guilty Gears community butting heads, but that's nothing that I know of.
And here I was thinking
the Guilty Gear community seemed to be really showing up to support that new game.
But another game that I was happy to see was obviously Melee. They are always showing up as a community at EVO, and they've always shown great support. Even from Nintendo, Nintendo's kind of reaching in his back pocket to say, "Hey, the community's a thing now." And also Smash 4. Smash 4 is a very beautiful game. And I think Nintendo's doing a good job, and EVO's doing a good job of incorporating both.
Well,
Smash 4 was inevitable. It was going to be there no matter what.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Is like Mike and I had a discussion about this. Smash 4 was a guarantee. If Smash 4 was not put in that lineup, I had a feeling Nintendo would say something about them not being able to stream Melee unless Smash 4 was in. So my guess was both games were. My prediction before the announcement came out is both Smash games were going to get in. But without a doubt in my mind, I thought both games were going to get in, and it was, I'm happy because I enjoy watching both games. The question now remains is that what are they going to do as far as scheduling? Because you look at these other games that made it in. Killer Instinct is back, which I kind of expected Killer Instinct to come back after its first year. I knew for a fact Injustice would not come back simply because Mortal Kombat X is coming out. And I have a feeling that's going to be a bigger turnout than people expect.
Yeah.
Because NetherRealm is going to throw a pot bonus in that game like they did Injustice the first year.
Yeah, well, new Mortal Kombat games always draw a big crowd, even from the non-competitive players. Like, Mortal Kombat's just a big deal in general.
Yeah, a lot of people turn out to pick up more. Whenever there's a new Mortal Kombat, everybody picks that up.
Yeah.
The game looks good.
I've heard a lot of people say, I don't play games competitively, but Mortal Kombat is a fun game. It has a lot of history backing it up. And Ed Boon, people know who Ed Boon is, and they know that he's created good and bad games, but they're still loyal to him.
Yeah.
And that's very, very true. And I will say that they're just based off of the trailers that I've seen, and I've watched some of the stream of MKX. The game looks promising. We'll see what it comes out, but I'm just happy with the lineup, the way that it turned out. I'm actually happy that all the games, like it's been stated before, all the games that are in the lineup is something for everybody.
Right.
So that leads me to kind of like the next thing is just like what you guys think after you saw the lineup. Is there any games that besides your main game that you're going to play? Like Ultra is my main game.
Yeah.
What game on that lineup are you most excited to watch on the big stage? Let's say.
To watch?
Yeah.
Or say watch or excited. I'll let Mikey start. Go ahead.
I think Marvel, because Marvel is just like it had the most views last year, which I'm kind of curious. I mean, they have to end with Street Fighter. It's just that thing. But Marvel had the most views last year, so I'm kind of curious what the. I mean,
did it?
They've already said that Ultra Street Fighter is going to end the night. But how many players were in top 8? It was all American. So I'm kind of curious if the international players will actually step up and say, because who was it? Nemo was there.
Nemo was there.
How many other international players was Mama Spider-Man there?
No. I think Ada played. Momoshi,
Ada was there.
I don't know if Momoshi played because I know Momoshi played the game for a while. Tokido played.
Yeah, Tokido played, and Tokido's really good, So, but to see top 8 or mostly all of top 32 had a lot of American players. It's actually just exciting to see if the international players will kind of show up in the top 8 or top 32.
Okay. Nick, what do you think?
Well, I'm mainly going to go to EVO to play Mortal Kombat. That's going to be what I'm going to focus on. I'm buying the fight pad for that game, the whole 9 yards. But what I'm most excited to watch, probably Ultra. That's just always a good show, especially after last year, with just what a bloodbath Friday was, how utterly unpredictable, and just how great the competition was. You know, I'd never miss seeing Street Fighter at EVO. It's always a good show.
I agree with that one.
Yeah, and this year, oh, okay. Let me finish with everybody first. Okay, Mike.
Well, in terms of playing, still Ultra will probably be my focus, but I'm going to be playing Smash and Smash 4 and Mortal Kombat.
Oh,
So.
yeah.
I'm playing Smash just to support. Same with Mortal Kombat.
Yeah.
But I think in terms to watch, I'll be crucified for saying this, but mine is actually going to be Smash 4. It's the new Smash, and being the first EVO and like the major stage, I just really hope it delivers. So people, I just want the game to have a long life because I think it's a good game, and I think Mikey would agree.
Yeah.
And I just want it to have a really good showing and let people know that it's not Melee. I mean, I'm not a Melee player, but I wanted people to see that it could still be a fun game to watch. So I'm excited to see what it's going to be like.
There's Smash, there's Brawl, and there's whatever all those other games, and then there's Melee. That's the same. So.
Okay, Javier.
For me, I guess the one I'm most looking forward to watching is always Ultra, just because I appreciate that out of all the other games that are going to be there. I appreciate it the most, and I understand it the best. But I also really want to watch Smash 4, because that's actually really entertaining to watch. I really like the I guess all the gimping that people do to each other. They knock each other off stage. I really like watching that aspect of the game.
Okay, that's really cool. Me.
What about you?
I'm going to EVO to play Ultra and Mortal Kombat X. What I think that Ultra obviously is my number one, but I'm actually really, really excited to watch Mortal Kombat X. And I'm praying, and this is from someone who is an Injustice monster. Please do not let this game be boring and kill the game after EVO.
Injustice's first showing at EVO really didn't do it any favors. Let's just leave it at that.
Yeah, it really killed the game for a lot of people in their eyes. But I will say, outside of that, I have to agree with Mikey, Marvel, because people say the Marvel is dead, but Marvel's not dead. The game itself is just not growing as much anymore. But a lot of the players that are still playing, everybody's getting better.
And let me add something to that. Because Ryan is always telling me, FChamp, Mexico, they are
dropping
monsters.
names, huh?
Mexico they are monsters in this game. They have a very deep community, and there's a lot of hidden talent. So we never know.
Huh?
I mean, what's his name? He's a zero player. He was a very, very good player from Mexico. He plays top there too. Didn't do his best, but he's very, very good. So, and another American player, Bubsy, he placed 9th, and he ended up losing the champion. I think it was somebody else, but he was from Texas, and he was really, really good.
Yeah, that guy's really, really solid. I've seen him play before.
Yeah, he played really, really good. So there's a lot of hidden talent. We just saw another new player coming out from the Curly. I forgot his name already. But
God. I forgot his name too. Cosmo.
Yeah.
Cosmo.
Cosmo, yeah.
That guy was really good.
Yeah, he's really good. So, but it's always fun to see those, the top, the gods of Marvel, like Justin Wong, Champ. We got Nemo. Everybody, trying to beat those players. It's always fun to watch. And in watching them play at a extremely high level, it's very fun.
That's good. I have to also add, I know we all talked about Ultra. I think this year's EVO for Street Fighter will be the most stressful and the most hype that we've ever seen.
People are just getting better and better at that game.
It's not that. It's ever since Capcom dropped that bomb saying Sony's putting up $500,000 for Capcom Cup Pro Tour. And
EVO, that's right. I forgot. We're esports now.
And EVO is going to be the tournament with the most points that allows you to get into that Pro Tour. People are gunning out to win that tournament.
Oh, absolutely.
And with $500,000 on the line, you are going to see there might be some Japanese players that we didn't know of that couldn't come last year that may come this year.
Yeah.
Or or any European players, somebody that, or it could be just some up and coming guy.
Could be the young bloods stepping up. Who knows?
It could be Mikey. We don't know.
Hey, come on, don't
It could
say
be
that.
Mikey's close friend and favorite T-Hawk player, Koji.
Wow.
We
That-
all know that Europe
Second.
and America and Japan, they all have very talented players, right?
Yeah.
But you never know. Another player from Kuwait can come out.
Exactly.
Another player from anywhere.
That's what
China.
that's what I'm saying. It's like there could be some. I don't know the statistics as far as like last year. I don't know if anybody took count of which notable top players, or let's say that are known around the world, did not attend EVO last year. But
Oh, there's thousands.
I will bet you the top dollar that most of those guys who did not go last year are going to be in attendance simply because that 500K is on the line. That is a guarantee. And this tournament is going to be the most stacked, the most stressful, and definitely the most hype out of any tournament at EVO next year. And
Was Sako there last year?
Sako he got top 8 last year.
Yeah, he got top
Yeah,
eight.
good for sure.
Oh, that's right.
And I will say, I mean, I no disrespect to any other game, because I was the first one to say the Smash community, like, I kind of doubted them at first, but look at those guys. They, for a game that's Melee's been going on for how long? 13 years? 14 years?
Going on that, yeah. 13.
Yeah. So and they're still pouring out with 1,000 people at Apex this year, and I don't know how many people they had, like the second most entrants at EVO last year.
I don't think it's 1,000. I think it's at 2,000, right?
Oh,
Or no?
I don't know. I thought I heard 1,000. I could be wrong. But
I think
anyways,
half.
yeah. But anyways, they are coming in numbers. That is just like the love for that game and that community is so strong that it's like you can't deny them. But I truly think that this year's Ultra is just going to be, if you thought last year or the year before was good, like, it's going to be insane this year. With all that money on the line, you bet that and I will go out and say this right now, every top player will have a counter pick, or they will be playing because
They'll be playing to win.
they'll be playing to win.
Yeah.
Because we have never seen this type of prize pot before. I mean, we're not talking straight EVO. It's the Pro Tour. We've never seen that type of prize pot before. So you can bet that guys are learning top tier. Look at Justin Wong and Ricky. They're playing Rose, learning the character, maybe for matchups to learn the character to fight her, or just play her because she's so good. And then you see other people playing all these other characters. It's going to be definitely it's going to be something very, very interesting to watch.
I think the big question is will Sanford pick Sagat?
Sanford, you must pick Sagat.
Or the Empire?
Dude, Sanford Kelly, that guy's ridiculous. He's fun to watch. I enjoy watching him play.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you guys a question then. Do you think this will be like the apex of Ultra Street Fighter 4? Like, do you think next year, like, it won't be like the #1 game at EVO?
I think by
no.
EVO 2016 we'll be playing Street Fighter 5.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean,
I think this is it for Ultra. This is it because it may be there as a side tournament, maybe as an Omega tournament or something for the lols. But
Next year,
Hell, I'd play
I think they keep Ultra.
you think so?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I think it'll stay in the lineup. It'll just be
It'll stay in
like
the lineup, but
Street Fighter 5 and Ultra.
it's not going to be the
Fighter
main event.
4.
Oh
Yeah.
no,
Yeah,
okay, that's very, very true. So that will add. So we could potentially see 10 games next year
yeah.
because we
Why
will.
not? Make it an even 10.
We will see Street Fighter 5 next year. That is a guarantee that we will see Street Fighter 5 next year. So, but yeah, I'm really excited for Ultra. I really think that the tournament itself is just going to be crazy. What I'm wondering is what the finals day is going to look like, because you know that they're going to close the show with Ultra, but you have 2 Smash games and then Marvel. Are you going to do the kind of like the same thing last year as Melee, Marvel, Ultra to finish out the night? Like,
Well-
I want to say that I hate to say it. I think they're going to put.
Anime is going to be on Friday. Or
The
Saturday.
schedule is already out though.
Is it?
The schedule's
No,
already
they
out.
haven't made a schedule. They haven't made a schedule.
I thought they
I
did.
think
Oh.
it's going to be based pretty much on the
Entrance.
entrant numbers.
I would imagine so. They're going to change it on the fly. They're definitely going to do that. What I think is going to happen is where BlazBlue last year was, we will see probably Guilty Gear, or maybe KI gets that first spot because KI got their top 8 a little later than BlazBlue. I think KI gets the first spot,
Right.
and then Guilty Gear. I'm almost banking on NetherRealm to have their top 8 on the main stage because
Oh,
Mortal
yeah.
Kombat because they're gonna put money into it. That's
All I know is Marvel and Street Fighter, the last two. I don't know which
Yeah.
one would be the last two, but
it's Ultra for sure is gonna close out the show.
yeah.
That we already know that. I just hope that
Marvel will
Nothing
be
else
second.
feels quite right.
I hope that we see most of those games on the main stage in the last day. I really do because I think most of those games, if they can that they deserve it. But I
They
haven't
can't do it on Sunday, but the thing is, they're probably gonna have to start
earlier.
earlier if you want it on Sunday.
That's the
and not
biggest
have to have
question.
a game on Friday.
I would imagine. Well, here's the thing: do you think that they would play both Smash games on Sunday? Melee was probably going to be Sunday, but will Smash 4 be Sunday?
What? Well, Smash 4 is. I think Nintendo is gonna make them put it.
That's a fair assessment. I would say so.
Yeah.
Because you remember last year with the whole stream thing, they're gonna say they're gonna pull, or was it the year before? Remember when they had that stream
I think that was
crisis with
20
Nintendo?
I think that was 2013.
Yeah, I could see them saying like if it's gonna be on Saturday, Nintendo will probably tell them to put it on Sunday.
Well, you know what? I think Project M was definitely one of the games that they are still like you can't stream that, and that's why the
Yeah.
community is kind of like, I don't want to play Project M because it's not a game that will be in a lot of official tournaments because you can't stream it. So we'll see.
Oh, I'm looking in the chat. Loving says Wizards confirmed there won't be 2 Smash nor 2 anime games on Sunday. Okay, well then if that's the case, then my guess is you'll see Persona and Smash 4 on Saturday.
My guess is Persona and Melee on Saturday.
Well,
Interesting. Interesting.
Actually, that I didn't even think about that. I just disregarded everything you just said. I'm sorry.
They wouldn't put Melee second or Saturday. Yeah,
Yeah, it's gonna be Smash. Well, that's tough because if it depends on it really depends if Nintendo's gonna get involved, because we don't even know what the EVO 2015 sponsors are yet. If Nintendo decides to sponsor this year, then Smash 4's got to be Sunday.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a very, very interesting thing to see how they handle that. Because when we went last year, what time did we get done with Street Fighter? Like 11?
11, yeah.
It was around 11:30, right? So, and I know that BlazBlue started at 10. So, I know Smash took a while. Melee took like almost 3 hours, I want to say.
It took a long time.
It took a really long time because I remember we were sitting there in the middle of the ballroom, and then I remember that you got up and left to go do something. I think maybe go play in a money match room or something, and you came back and it was still going. And then we were very fortunate to get seats up on the front, making some investments. Thank you, Luffy. Thank you, Luffy. You were the best. You were the best, Luffy. You're my hero.
Name dropping again.
Well, he's
Yeah,
my.
I told you guys had a bet. Come on.
Yeah, okay, you did. I will give it. I bet on Luffy, and then I looked at Mikey for every other bet. I'm not even gonna lie.
And then Justin was like, our savior for all bets.
Yeah, Justin Wong saved because it was just a friendly investment. A lot of people picked Ryan to beat Justin, and I picked Justin.
Never bet against Justin.
Yeah,
Always bet on the king.
yeah,
They don't call him Marvelous for nothing.
yes. So then a couple other things that I thought would be interesting to kind of talk about is, well, how with Street Fighter 4 Ultra supposedly coming out on PS4 in the spring, and Sony sponsoring Capcom Pro Tour, and then you have MKX coming out on different consoles. There's going to be consoles all over. Are we going to be, what if Sony sponsors the event? Are we going to see everything on PlayStation 4, you think? Outside of Marvel being on Xbox 360?
Did Microsoft sponsor EVO last year? Or
I believe so.
So
AI.
That's what the Switch was for. That's why everyone was making fun of them for selling out and shit.
So what are they? That's interesting because the whole Street Fighter 5 deal on PS4, Ultra.
Well,
coming out
and then Sony's putting up the 500,000 for the tour.
Yeah, that's a prospect I did not think of until just now. That's
Because
pretty interesting.
we don't know. Well, the thing is, I'm sorry. I'll let you finish, Mike, in a second. But we don't know when Ultra comes out for PS4. We don't know how the difference is going to be playing on there compared to, like, let's say Xbox 360. I mean, I know it's going to be a port, but I mean, I don't know how they're going to go about that. My guess is that we're going to be playing on a plethora of consoles that weekend.
Um,
A smorgasbord, a venerable cavalcade, if you will.
well, they said
menagerie.
Ultra will be out. Ultra will be out the springtime this year for PS4. Yeah, it is hard to know though. I mean, I assume if they're putting up the money, they're gonna want it on their console. I assume a PS4 port would be as close to arcade perfect as anything else.
You would hope so, yeah.
And that just leads to the discussion of people having to go buy brand new sticks.
Well, that also, if they add
that's-
I don't know if they're gonna add those the drivers to use the sticks. It's just it can be it can lead to bad times if it's not worked out.
Mm-hmm.
As long as Marvel is on Xbox, I think everybody else will be pretty happy because people do not want to play on PS3 anymore for Marvel at least. Street Fighter, I know people don't like playing on PS3, but I'll be real with you. I know I'm not great, but if I can play on it, I don't see a huge difference. But then again, I play a brain dead character according to most people. So
You play one of those low IQ characters, from what I've heard.
exactly.
In terms of like Mortal Kombat, I think you're gonna see that on maybe PS3.
See
I
that?
don't think you're gonna see the next gen version yet.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, because you have to also consider if Sony's sponsoring it, they're going to do it for Street Fighter consoles, not MKX. So they gotta. So EVO would have to provide those setups. EVO can. Those guys can easily get access to a PS3 or an Xbox.
Well, wasn't Injustice run on PS3
Yes.
Yeah.
and MK2? So I would assume that if they do run it, and it's not next gen, it'll be PS3 for that one.
Yeah, I think Tiger Climbs Mountain has a good point. He says, I don't think there's going to be too many PS4 setups. Depending on who sponsors who for EVO, it's just too many elements, too many things to think of. So maybe EVO will just keep it simple and just stick with Microsoft and just keep it simple for the sake of budgeting.
But it's not. I think at the same time, it's part of their call, but it's also Sony's call too. If they're putting up the money for it.
Yes.
That's true.
I think if EVO doesn't want to do what they say, they go, all right, then we're not giving you a pot bonus or whatever for this Pro Tour event.
Got you. That makes sense.
And then
Could
how
be
many
some
players
hand
would have to
tying
sell?
involved.
Yeah, I also think too, like Tiger says in the chat, he makes a very good point. A lot of people cannot get next gen sticks right now. Like,
Yeah.
I pre-ordered my Mad Cats like a week ago, and the pre-order lasted maybe like 3 days, and then they sold out.
I'm trying to get a Ori stick right now. But...
Yeah, it's really difficult to come by a stick right now.
They're hard to come by, and they're not very cost efficient right now either, for that matter.
Well,
Because aren't they still like what, almost $200?
Well, you have to look at it this way too. When Street Fighter V comes out next year, most people are going to be playing that game. That's a Sony console only. Most people, if like we all have sticks that will play on the old consoles. Yeah, you want a dual mod stick to play on next gen, but most of the games now, unless you're deciding to go play Killer Instinct, you're going to be playing on PS4. So, PS4 and PC. So more than likely, you won't need. Those are the sticks you're probably going to end up reaching for, and you already know that next year when Street Fighter V comes out, Mad Catz and all these other companies are going to come out with Street Fighter V exclusive sticks, arcade sticks and stuff. So it's just going to be interesting. The whole thing with that driver that supposedly the Skullgirls team is working with about letting PS3 sticks work on PS4. Maybe that comes out before EVO, and that helps out. I don't know, but for the most part, I think I don't think we see a lot of PS4s. But at least for Ultra, it depends if Sony gets involved. That is the biggest key right now, is if Sony gets involved with the sponsoring the event and so forth. So, I also think too it's going to be interesting to see the Tekken 7 cabinets there. I don't know if you
yeah.
guys. I don't know if you guys have seen the actual like footage of that game. The game looks beautiful.
The game looks
Yeah.
amazing.
Game
I'm not
looks
gonna
awesome.
play it, but it does look amazing.
It looks
Isn't
great.
that going back to the roots of like EVO roots being the arcade cabinets to the actual event? That's like, wasn't that what they did back in the days?
Was it?
Yeah, that's how Evo started. It was all
Originally, yeah.
on arcade
Yeah, so-
cabinets back in the day.
And the fact that Namco is like really invested and involved in the game, and of course you got a lot of community members in the game that want to support it and want to push the game even further. So we'll see.
Yeah, I think it's going to be really interesting to see. And I don't know. I'm not going to play the game, but I did think that the game looked really good from the videos that I've seen so far. So,
It'll be interesting to see people playing it too, because it'll come out like maybe a month beforehand, and even then, that's only going to be in like Japan and Korea. No one else is really going to have experience.
Well,
Wow.
I have a question for you guys. You guys have been. It's at the Paris this year, right?
yes,
Indeed.
You guys have been to the Paris for Evo?
I not for Evo, but I've been to the Paris.
I've never been.
What about Mikey?
I've been to the Paris, but not for EVO.
Oh, okay.
Wait, wasn't
what year did they have Evo at the Paris?
Wasn't it 2 years ago?
I can't remember. I never remember what venues they are in. So
I'm pretty sure that year that you went and you drove back that same night. I'm pretty sure
was it that one?
I'm pretty sure it was at the Paris that year. I could be wrong,
I can't remember, to be honest.
but
Well, the reason I ask is because I remember Winster Wizard said that for this year there's not going to be a lot of room, so it makes you wonder how many cabinets they actually are going to have.
I really hope they don't, because one of those years where they had like a really small venue, I think they split it up in two. There were no casual setups. There was nothing. It didn't feel right.
Well,
Yeah.
I think that might be the same one because I know that the Paris is a bit on the smaller side.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that EVO was kind of like disappointing. It felt.
Yeah.
But then again, like we never know. You know, there could be a change in some kind of venue.
Yeah.
Or something.
well, just because I'm just wonder if how much space you're gonna have for the cabs and like all the setups and everything.
Yeah.
I will say, and this goes without saying, it's at the Paris this year, and anybody that's planning on going, do your stuff early, book your things, get your badges, because when it was 2013 when it was at the Paris, it sold out fast. So as soon as it comes my guess is, even if you don't know if you're going for sure, you better just register, just to get it. I know that we're all planning to go, and we're all gonna do all this stuff early. And shout outs to Hamad. Hamad's in the chat. That guy is the most godlike Fei Long player. That guy is godlike.
What's that, man?
He is godlike, sir. Congratulations on your win.
Yeah. Definitely a very talented player, very disciplined player. For having what he does, he works full time and where he's at. So very impressive.
So you're saying he's got that JOB sponsorship? I hear that pays a lot of the bills.
Yes, it
Quite a
does.
bit.
Pays
Yeah.
my bills.
He is a godlike player, man. Like, I really enjoyed watching him play. I really did enjoy watching him play at KIT. And Mikey and I were talking about that throughout the whole grand final set. He called it too. He said if Justin picks Rufus, Mod's gonna win.
Yeah.
He called it, and we saw it happen. So it was definitely an awesome tournament. We'll have to get him on the show one day. We'll have to get
Yeah.
him.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we'll have to get you on the show one day, Hamad, just to, anytime you want. But, so, yeah, back to EVO, though. If you guys, anybody that is planning on going, it's at the Paris. You better book your stuff and just get it situated, because the Paris is, like we said, is smaller than it was last year. Last year's EVO venue, Mikey, how big was that venue? That venue was huge.
That was a very big venue. It was nice because there was a lot of things you could have done because it was connected. There was a huge room, a little smaller. I think it was not that much bigger.
Yeah.
There's a big room for the main stage, and then there's a small room for like the sponsors. That venue was awesome because, like I said, the one in the Paris or whatever, they had they were disconnected, and the rooms were really small when you went to the other side. The main event place was kind of small to me, but nothing compared to what happened last year. Last year was really, really big.
Yeah, it's what I really liked. Yeah, That's a very good point. Like Tiger put in the chat, venue was good, but the hotel was terrible. We stayed at the opposite end of the strip. Thank you, God, there was a monorail. like no joke, man. Like, thank you, God, there was a monorail. I did
Monorail.
not. I did not want to have to pay a cab. I did not want to have to pay a cab for every ride over there. But I will say, and you know, I can't really say for last year because it was literally, I went to EVO last year on what was it, Mikey? I told you like 2 weeks in advance. It was like literally 2 weeks before EVO, or before registration closed, and I got offered a free badge to go to work at my friend's art booth that was hosting the booth. And so he's like, yeah, if you just work at the booth, I'll get you a badge and you can play Ultra. It was
and free housing.
Yeah, and free housing. So I couldn't refuse. And hey, shout outs to myself. I had the best finish at EVO ever, or best at a tournament. It's probably never going to happen again. But
no, it won't.
I did it. Hey,
I've never heard someone say that before. Shout outs to myself.
it's my only accomplishment that is ever going to happen. Because hey, I'll just be real with you guys.
That's as good as it's ever gonna get.
I'm never gonna get a bracket like that ever again. I will never get a bracket like that ever again. Mikey watched me play that whole bracket. He watched me play, and it was
the bracket where you're the killer.
What?
Yeah, if there's
what
a
does
bracket,
that say about everybody else?
Oh God. Hey, the first match I had, I got a double KO and had to replay a game. That was scary. God, I didn't think I was ever gonna recover from that. But anyways, yeah. The venue last year was just insane. I really wish that it could have been there again, but the Paris is still cool. What I like is that it's going to be in the middle of the strip. So there's so much stuff to do, because when I go to EVO this year, I definitely want to enjoy the games and stuff, but I want to do other stuff, you know? Like, I think that's something that Mikey and I have talked about a lot, that we have never got a chance to do, is we never got a chance to enjoy Vegas per se, not even like go out a lot, but just go do some fun stuff. Because we were at the ballroom every day. But I will say, guys, no joke, this year there's a godlike buffet at the Cosmos Hotel. There's a godlike buffet that we're gonna go to this year. It's called Wicked Spoon. That place is godlike. I went there in December. It was flat out godlike.
I've never been to any of these godlike Vegas buffets before. I feel so ashamed.
Oh, there's plenty. There is definitely plenty around to, you know, it's Vegas, man. It's going to be a good time. I think the tournament's going to be hype. It's always just fun, even if just, like, for me, I know I'm not a top player. I enjoy competing, but I also just going to experience the atmosphere, support the community, and just cheer on my friends, and hopefully they all do well. Like, you know, I hope Mikey does really well next year. I hope all of us that enter, we do well. So, the other thing I wanted to touch on before we kind of move on to our last kind of topic, which is like our training session portion of the show, is you guys have noticed that EVO is getting bigger and bigger every year, with it not necessarily competitors, but also people just showing up to support the event, the stream monster views, you know, the media coverage and stuff like that from, like, I hate to use this, IGN and things like that, but is it possible, especially with, at least for Ultra Street Fighter 4, with this Capcom Pro Tour Cup and that 500K, is it possible that this is the biggest EVO, this 2015 will be the biggest EVO we've ever seen?
You can't really say that, because there's so many EVOs to come, and with Street Fighter 5 coming out, and more companies and communities being supported by just, you know, Nintendo, Microsoft, and all that stuff. All these big companies are supporting gaming overall. You know, it's getting more and more noticed. We never know. You know, this could be the end of Marvel. This could be a resurgence of Marvel. We just don't know. There's just so many elements, so many things that we can't calculate right now. The future is just, it's a bright future. I feel it's a good future for gaming, but we just don't know.
I think with the way things are going right now, with Sony's, you know, much bigger involvement, with the Capcom Pro Tour getting to where it's at, I think 2016 could be a really record-breaking EVO, just for, you know, it's going to be The first one was Street Fighter V, so the slate's going to be wiped clean, fresh start for everybody. Everybody's going to be coming out of the woodwork to play that.
Mm-hmm.
And who knows, what other advancements there will be in the community by then.
And it's going to be on PC, and I have a feeling either that or PS4, something's going to happen for Street Fighter V. Something big is going to happen. I don't know what it is, but
you think something? So do you? Is it fair to say that? Is it fair to say that?
Let's get that Nvidia money. Let's go.
Is it fair to say that with this step with Sony putting up the money to make Street Fighter V, and then putting the money into the community for the players, is this just a step in the right direction that we've been looking for?
It is, but whoever's, I think Capcom is making the game, right? Not because this whole story about Capcom going broke, whatever. Is Namco buying them or whatever? Or who's buying them out?
No one's really buying them.
No, right now, nobody.
Okay. So, well, with that being said, Capcom is making the game. Capcom, and this is going to be the end-all say-all of the game. They have to make this game count, because a lot of people, I hear a lot of stories about people saying, "Oh, Ultra Street Fighter 5 or Street Fighter 4."
No,
we're
not really quite there yet, but we will.
Yeah, it didn't really have too many. It didn't have too much content. It didn't have a story. It didn't have a lot of. Look at Smash 4. Smash 4 is a great game because it looks good, it sounds good, and there's a lot of options and a lot of content.
Package.
Yeah, it's just overall a very, very good game for casual players and for competitive players. It can be a casual game. It can be a competitive game. So it's, for Street Fighter 5, Capcom really needs to look at that and say, we need to do more. It sounds kind of stupid to say, oh, we're just asking for more, but you have to remember that we're not trying to get just the competitive players. We're trying to get everybody involved in the game, and that's the biggest part.
And I will say, with Sony putting up the money to help develop the game, we will see a definite improvement on these. With the story mode, arcade mode, whatever you want to call it, we will see.
I really hope.
We will definitely see that. And I remember reading an article last week or something about Ono saying that he wants, they want to make this game. Obviously, okay, I know this is frowned upon in the FGC, making games quote unquote casual friendly or whatnot. Yeah. But in my opinion, they have to, if you want the people to, for a company standpoint, you have to, if you want people to buy the game and you want it to do well. And here's another thing too. Just because it's casual friendly doesn't mean that anybody can pick up the game and go win EVO. You still have to sit in training mode and practice the game.
Yes.
Like, that is the biggest misconception about Marvel 3 to a lot of... And I've already talked to some people who say, oh, Marvel 3, that game's really scrubby, it has X Factor, that game's really dumb.
Mm-hmm.
You may not play Marvel, but I don't play Marvel as much anymore. I kind of dropped that as a main game. But the gameplay, as far as neutral game and high level play, is so fun to watch, and you have to learn the game so much and implement a lot of things to be at a top level. I can't beat Mikey, even if I pick Virgil. Everybody says
not with that attitude.
He's picked Doom Virgil. You could beat this guy. I'm like, no, it doesn't work that way. You still have to work.
Doom Virgil, you can beat anyone, from what I hear.
I pick a good character in Street Fighter. I still suck. I mean,
here's the point. I like to use Smash 4 as a sort of the thing. Smash 4 had a lot of content, and Street Fighter 5 should go in that direction. It should have more things to offer than just training mode versus an online. It's just not going to cut it.
Yeah, I'm all for that too. That's how. Look, the FGC. It's a kind of substantial amount of players and people involved, but that's just a fraction of everybody else who plays video games, who I'm sure Capcom would like money from too. You got to appeal to those folks also.
The funny thing is, it's going to be on PC. And who knows, we might see a sort of Dota 2 kind of style of creating costumes and stuff like that. Dota 2, they've been very, very successful with the workshop and stuff like that. Because people can just submit their ideas for a certain costume, for a certain character, and people can make money off of it. So it's kind of cool.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, I think it would be a really good idea. So we never know. We'll find out at least.
I will definitely say that it's something Capcom shouldn't ignore. If the community started making costumes like they did in Dota and stuff,
Yes.
oh man, it would just be. Look at some of the PC mods people have come up with.
Yeah.
Like it would just be a. I'm not gonna go out and say, oh, Capcom, it'll be a gold mine, but dude, like
It's a good investment.
it's definitely worth trying.
They just have to make sure that the hitboxes aren't altered, like stuff like that.
Exactly.
Licensings for certain characters, like they can't have like Link. That'd be kind of weird, unless they had Nintendo's backup with that. But you know what I mean? Just
Yeah,
so have that out there. Have that as an option. It'd be a good idea to see as a sort of different side of revenue coming for them.
and
The DLC for the Cross Tekken was not a good look.
oh
and,
god,
And the gems and whatnot, that was just an awful idea. So
they shot themselves in the foot with gems. I'll just go ahead and throw that out there right now, because it was a good game without the gems. But going back to
It really was.
It was a good game. But going back to this, and before we move on, I know I've been kind of talking about this for a while, but I think that's another reason why I think Mortal Kombat is still really well liked by a lot of people, because the story mode in that game. The story mode in Mortal Kombat is pretty legit. And
Very robust.
I really think that if Street Fighter had something like that, man, the game itself could be like you said, Mike, it could bring more people in, and it would make the game even more enticing. If I would definitely be interested to see if they had some type of story mode like similar to like Mortal Kombat with the Street Fighter characters. That'd be really, really interesting to see.
I'm pretty ignorant when it comes to Mortal Kombat. So like, what was their story mode, or like how was that different from the Street Fighter mode?
Well, Street Fighter mode, you pick a character.
Thanks, Mike.
And yeah, you just go through. You go a set amount of battles, and you get a little video at the beginning and the end. Mortal Kombat, you start off. I believe you start off as who was it? Was it Sonya?
No, I think it was Johnny Cage.
Okay, yeah, and it's like, okay, Johnny Cage, your first match is against this dude, and then you end up playing as everyone in the roster while it's telling a story. So it's like Jax disappears and Sonya has to go look for him, so you're playing as Sonya, and then something happens, so then someone has to go look for her, and it just takes you through like every character and
How many characters are in
everyone
Mortal
on the
Kombat?
roster. What's up?
How many characters were in that game?
I don't remember.
Well, I didn't take you through every character. But you played as pretty much all of the good guys.
I see. Okay.
And
yeah,
then
like the whole basis of the story is Raiden sees like a thing in the future with like everyone dying, and he's trying to figure out like what to do to stop that future from becoming reality.
Okay. And is that something like you have to go through to like unlock characters, or is that just like a side thing?
I think there was like one or two characters you unlocked from it, but it was a mostly optional thing.
I see. Okay.
But it was definitely something that added a different element that Street Fighter doesn't have.
Yeah,
Right.
because like even with the game, I have friends that don't play fighting games at all, but they got Injustice for the story mode, just because they like the characters and they like the cinematic style of story for a fighting game.
And Justice
okay.
had an even better story.
Yep, very, very true. It had a pretty good story. So, it was that I hope Street Fighter V implements something like that. I think it could bring in a lot more casual players. I think it's definitely going to be very, very interesting in the next coming up months, because we will definitely be hearing more information about the game. My last point: will we see Street Fighter V at this year's EVO as a playable build?
Oh yeah.
If
Yeah,
not
I
a
think it has
playable,
to be there.
if not a playable build, there'll be something.
And we'll have a pretty good idea of new characters coming, I would imagine.
Oh yeah.
If there's no playable build, there might just be an exhibition or.
If there's no playable build, there'll be some kind of an exhibition, like Mike said, and there'll definitely be some character reveals.
yeah, I agree, like a trailer or something.
I hope so, because I think everybody's already kind of wanting to see more of the game. So we'll see how that goes. So anyways, I think that does it kind of for our EVO portion. So we'll kind of dive into the last part of the broadcast. And
A little bit of static there.
yeah, a little bit of somebody's having
Technical difficulty.
we're having a technical difficulty.
I'm blaming this on Mikey. It looks like Nick.
I think it's coming from Nick's side.
Yeah, his mic's having a little bit of difficulties, I guess.
RIP in peace, headphone users.
You can just mute him for a bit, see if that works.
Nope, I think he's
Okay.
got it. Okay, sorry guys. Anyways, so we're going to move on to our last portion of the show, which is kind of like our training tip corner. This is kind of part of the show where we kind of just go over a couple different things about maybe helping players improve. Like in the past, we've talked about training mode, how to properly use it. We've talked about picking main characters, matchup bases, things of that nature. So today we were kind of going to go over just a little bit of like, this is a pretty in-depth conversation. So we're going to try and just like narrow it down to a few key points, and then maybe we'll make a video later on of more in-depth stuff. So the last thing would be, Javier, I'll kind of let you explain this because this is kind of like what you came up with yesterday when you and I were discussing topics.
Okay. So I guess like the really, really like foundation or the basic point about this is just that like you want to take mental notes when you're playing against an opponent. And I guess like the easiest example is just that like when you put your opponent in a bad situation, like if you knock them down, like off a sweep or like off a throw, you want to watch what they do like as they're getting up, because you don't always want to just like have a decision already ahead of time. You don't want to think like, okay, I knocked him down, I'm already gonna go for a meaty, or I'm gonna go for an overhead, or I'm just gonna go for another throw. Like you kind of want to take a step back and kind of see what your opponent likes to do as they rise, so that way you get a feel for like how they play when they're on the defense, and you can start developing options and you can build like a better game plan off of that. So that's just kind of like the really basic stuff, and then we can kind of build from there if you want.
Yeah, and a really quick sort of too long didn't read saying of that is get some data. Get some data of your opponent before you go in there and commit to something that could potentially hurt you. So get some data from the opponent.
Okay.
Right.
So let's kind of start off with like an example. Like, okay, so I'll use myself as an example. So Mike and I played a set the other day. What did we play? First to 10?
Yeah, first to 10.
And I lost 10-1. No surprise there. I lost 10-1. But he gave me some ideas as far as what to look for in certain situations. So like, what were you saying? Like if I knock you down and I sweep, maybe a couple options I can have. I can walk up, I can throw you. I play Rose, by the way. I can walk up and I can throw you. I can walk up, hop kick. I could do like a jab, walk back, and see what you do. And like whether you're going to just sit there and block, you're going to backdash, DP, is that kind of on the same page that you guys are kind of talking about?
It's a mixture of yes and no, because we're really talking about observing your opponent's options on his wake up by using different techniques, be it timing, backdashes, walk speeds, certain normals, certain block strings. It's a lot of things to add on and to tack on when thinking of observing your opponents. So a good example would be what would he do after he blocks 2 jabs? What would he do when he gets up, if you're really close to him, if you're really far from him? It's just being observant overall when you're playing your opponent. Now, what you're saying, I think, what was it that you mentioned? Can you repeat that?
So, like, in those instances when we were playing, I would sweep you, and then I would walk up. I could do like a plethora of things. I could throw you. I could close medium kick. I could jab, walk back, or I could even I could dash up and then backdash. Is that and then kind of see how you react?
Right. And those are the things that in part lies in conditioning, and just knowing the matchup, knowing your distances, knowing your spacing on their wake up. And I gave him a bit of a I gave him a bit of a tutorial on sort of how and why you should do it. And I was telling Jared that there's 3 things that you want to think about. It's what are you doing? So what are you doing that, you know, in a matchup? It's how are you doing it? And the most important part, which is like the end all of the product of your, you know, your situation, is why are you doing it? What are you doing is obviously, you know, are you backdashing? Are you doing jabs on his wakeup? It's just, you know, the overall mechanics of the game. How you're doing it is the timing and the spacing and what, you know, when are you pressing that button? Are you waiting for him to press that button and then doing hop kick? And then why you're doing it is adding it all up. Why are you so close to him? Why are you, you know, pressing jab on his wakeup? Why are you, you know, there's all these elements. So those are the 3 things that players need to look at when approaching a matchup and sort of developing their skills and mind games and in conditioning. So what do you guys think about that?
Yeah, I would totally agree, and definitely I would say that like knowing the why of, you know, the reason you're doing something is the most important. Because even if you ignore like some of the other things, but you're thinking about why you're doing something, why it didn't work, why it could work, then at least you're really thinking about the match, and you have a good reason for what you're doing. So you'll probably just level up just based off of that because you're thinking more about what your opponent is doing.
Absolutely, and let me add on to this because I did talk to Hamad about this. You know, we all know that certain things or certain matchups can be a little bit more difficult or easy, right? So we can dominate those matches or we can lose those matches a certain way. But keep in mind that if you're at an advantage or something like that, or if you're, you know, you have the life lead, and you're just playing casuals, you're not playing tournament, test things out, you know. Don't just sit there and say, hey, you know, I'm going to win this matchup 100%. Why don't you just block a little bit more? Why don't you try to look for a certain punish? For example, try to punish Fei Long's overhead, which is like -5 or something like that. Practice that, you know. Don't always just assume that taking the win is the you know, the end result of your training. Try to find some things to test yourself, to push yourself to the next level, and that's something that a lot of online players forget because they're so caught up in trying to win, but they're not trying to learn.
Because they want to see their name at the top of the leaderboard.
They want to see those points go up.
They want to see the points. But anyways, like I will say that
you can't even cash them in for fabulous prizes. So what's the point?
Nick, you're a little low.
Yeah, turn up your mic a little bit.
How's that?
Oh, can't hear.
Still a little low, but anyways, let's what I was going to say is what you said, Mikey, about telling the players, you know, like in casuals, you're not playing in tournament, so practice things. That is something that I will just go out and say right now to a lot of the Fresno players. They need to start adopting this method, because the casuals that I saw at the last tournament, everybody was just trying to win.
Yeah.
I mean, and they wonder why. Like, a lot of those guys are wondering why they still lose. And then when I try, like, I got asked a certain thing about Rose, and I said, well, you can't punish that. Did you try blocking or anything? He's like, no, I wanted to, you know, they're so caught up in winning, like, that I wonder if I don't think it crosses their mind to try stuff in casuals and stuff. Like, when I play casuals, I used to just do that. I used to be the same, I can't lie. But after actually practicing with Mikey and stuff, like, he's changed my perspective about the game, about my whole mentality of actually playing. And I think that this would be really good for a lot of players to do something like that. And I never really questioned, and him and I talked about this the other day when we played that set. There was an instance. You remember that instance where you had me in the corner and I dashed forward and medium kicked, and I hit you with the super to win the round, and you were like, "Wow, that was really good because good spacing." And then you asked me why I did it, and I said, "I don't know. I just said I did it."
He executed for the win. By the way, he executed a dash up hop kick into crouching strong drill and super for the kill, and it was a very well placed hop kick. It was a very well timed dash. And just the overall presence of, I had super, I'm going to go for this. But at the end of the day, I asked him, why did you do it? And he didn't have an answer. So that's something that people forget. It's like you have to understand why you're doing things. But let's answer a couple questions. We have a couple questions on Twitch.
Okay, so let's look at Loving's question. During that process, when you do decide it's time to counterpick, or wait, during that process, when do you decide it's time to counterpick with your secondary character?
Here's the thing. There's a left and right sort of saying for do I counterpick. Now, John Choi has always told me stick with your character, and I thought really hard about that. And you always see a lot of European players, aka Reinhardt, saying I'm going to counterpick. You know, Zhao Hai, I'm going to counterpick Snake Eyes. I'm going to counterpick Snake Eyes and 7 OM. You know, stuff like that. So there's a difference between that. Daigo is obviously another example. He's more of the I'm going to stick with my character no matter what. Okay, I can pick Yun and beat Dawson, but I'm going to pick EVO Ryu and try to beat it. So it's not really about when I should change my character. It's more of do I have the confidence in my character or do I not? And that's a lot of things that you have to add that onto, like matchup experience. Have you played this matchup before? Do they have matchup against your counterpick character? You know what I mean? I wouldn't go picking I don't know, E Honda against Latif because he plays what's his name? The guy from Arizona. I forgot his name already. But he's a very good E Honda. Very good E Honda. But you know what I mean? Like I wouldn't go picking certain characters against people that have played that matchup before. So you have to keep that in mind.
You gotta try to think what the other guy's thinking constantly.
You're really low, Nick. We can't hear you, man.
I
think your mic blew out, dude.
But going back to, and I think Mike G and I talked about this too. If you're gonna counterpick, you better hope that your counterpick character is just as good as your main character.
Absolutely,
Which I feel is that a lot of people's counterpicks, they don't really understand that counterpick character.
Yeah.
They're just like, oh, this is a counterpick for this matchup, so I'm gonna win. It's like It doesn't really work that way.
We can all
magically win because it's a bad matchup.
Yeah, we can all pick Sagat against Snake Eyes, but do we really know how to play the matchup?
I don't even think it would take a round. I'll be honest with you. I don't think I could even take a round.
Yeah.
At least you're modest.
So hey, I am. But yeah, that counterpicking is definitely something that is on a lot of people's minds, and we discussed before earlier about our EVO talk about Ultra. You're gonna see a lot of people counterpick, but a lot of those guys have been playing the game for, have been playing the game for what, 6 years, 7 years. Mm-hmm. So a lot of the top players can play 2 or 3 characters. Like look at you, you could play a bunch of characters.
I can play the whole cast.
Yeah, so like, but for people who have only been playing a couple years, depending on how much time you put in, I guess, it's still more beneficial to play your main character. Now, for me, for instance, I'm not going to say I'm going to counterpick somebody, but I will say right now, and this is because my matchup knowledge is really bad and I have to practice it, I do not feel comfortable playing Rose against Yun. I'd rather play Cody.
There we go.
Or against any dive kick character. Cody, Rufus, Yang. I'd rather play Cody, Rufus, Yang, and Yoon. I'd rather play Cody than Rose. Even though Rose is the better character, I feel more comfortable in that matchup with that character, because even though I haven't really maxed out the potential of both of those characters for my skill, but it's definitely. I probably wouldn't do that in a huge tournament though. I would probably still stick with my main guns because at the end of the day, that's the character I play the most, and that's what brought me here. So I better just play my stuff, rather than just
Yeah, and to go back to the whole counterpicking thingy, a lot of people would try to pick Faye against me or something like that, or Dawson, but I know that matchup because I played Ryan, or I've played a lot of good Faye players, Hamad being one of them, Mago, Fudo. I've played all of those very, very good Fei Long players before. So back when I played Ryu, it was one of my favorite matchups. And so we don't know, or you don't necessarily know who has the matchup experience and who doesn't.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Sorry, I'll say that's something I wanted to touch on real quick. But yeah, like you were just saying, like there are people that they know that they have really tough matchups, so they go out and seek players that know those characters. That way they get the practice for it.
Yeah.
So maybe if you think, oh, I'm going to counterpick this guy, you might actually just be playing to one of his strengths. Maybe he actually really likes that matchup, or he's really good at it. So
Yeah.
you just made it even harder for yourself. So
Yeah,
that's
so you
one of
get
the
that.
reasons why I don't really like counter picking. I would never do it. It doesn't feel right to me. There's like too many variables. I'll just stick to my one character.
Yeah, so what you know, like John Troy said, stick to what
Yeah.
you know.
And then you
'Cause,
got
I
guys
mean-
like Cody counter picking at Evo, but that's another story.
That's because Cody's a scumbag.
I'm sorry, Mikey. Go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Oh no, I had nothing to say.
Okay. Well,
We hit it on the head already. So
yeah. And Tommy wrote in the chat too. What? Oh, I see Steve in the chat too. What's up, Steve? You need to learn the matchup with Rose, and I need to learn, or else you will never be good with the character. Which I totally 100% agree. I totally 100% agree with that. Learning your bad matchups with your character will make you a better player.
absolutely.
I totally agree with that, and I think that outside of like game mentality and like thinking about like little things that Mikey and I were talking about the other day, I think matchups is another big flaw in my game that I don't know and I need to get better at. So I'm definitely going to try and work that out, especially with my bad matchups. And I'm very, very fortunate that I can play Mikey anytime I want, really, and he could play he could play the characters that I really need him to play so I can learn. Like I've always asked him, like, hey, play Fei Long, play Rufus, and then he picks El Forte. But I need to learn that match. I need to learn that matchup too. So I'm very, very fortunate that I can play a type of caliber player like him that can play a multitude of characters at a pretty good high level that I can learn from. So.
And a lot of people don't know that I do study other players, so I can copy their styles a lot.
Some may say this guy has the best El Forte in NorCal.
I might.
We don't know.
I would not say that at all.
I actually probably would put money on it. I'd put money on
I
it.
might.
Really?
I would.
Right.
I would put money
How
on
much? How much?
it. There's only one El
Put
Forte.
an amount on it right now.
There's only one El Forte player in NorCal, and I played him at HodoCon. I had more trouble with Mikey's El Forte. I'm just saying. But I still lost, so I stuck. Anyways, but no, Mikey's El Forte is actually legit. And when I know I troll him a lot, but the thing that's what's so good about him is like he said, he studies videos. You probably watched a bunch of Pepidai videos, right?
Only Pepper It's only for El Forte I watch. Pepper
And then
That's
and then you're learning Gin, right? So you watch Sienna a lot.
Shin. And and this is another thing to sort of remember when we're picking up characters, is that we can say like, oh, this character is really easy, it's really brain dead, and then when you pick him up, you're like, this character's really hard, or like, wow, Shin is really working hard for his stuff. Because I thought Gen was a lot of setups and stuff like that, and just getting the knockdown, whatever. He's a really hard character to learn, because there's a lot of things that people don't really see, because they're so focused on, oh, he got a hit, he did the setup, and that's it, and that's the end all say all. But you have to really work for that hit with Gen. You really do.
And going on that too, Rose is not brain dead, guys. You need footsies.
Yeah.
Hold that. Hold that. You need footsies. None of this brain
You need
dead
footsies.
stuff. I do need footsies. I do need footsies. My footsies are terrible. But they're really, really bad. And, so let's see. Lovings has something in. Snake Eyes beats Sanford and Ryan Hart to the point that commentators were saying is a 5-5 matchup. Oh, Ultra David is famous for this.
Oh,
That's
yes.
just bullshit.
Let me tell you about that. I mean, I've seen Ultra David's tier list for Zangief, and it's a little biased because he personally cannot play at his level that he wants to play because obviously he has a what is it? I forget what it was, but he can't play. So when he watches Snake Eyes, he thinks that's the staple of all the matchups, which is fine. Ultra David is a very intelligent person, and Snake Eyes is a very extremely strong player. But we've never seen Snake Eyes play against certain characters from different areas. So when Snake Eyes, I think he says that he thinks that matchup. Oh, I don't know, but something about Sagat is a little bit better than any other version. And then we see Zhao Hai picking Sagat and just playing it completely different than what we thought would happen.
And keep in mind, he hasn't played Sagat in a while either.
Yeah, I've never even seen his Sagat play. So, but the whole idea is that you can't really view a matchup based off of what you've seen because we just don't know. As it's two matches, maybe 3 or 6 at the most. We just never know.
Okay, and going off of what his question is, he says, East Coast claimed it was in Geef's favor. How can you, as a player, avoid falling into the trap of thinking we know a matchup because we've beaten everybody in our local scene? Are there any red flags that may indicate you don't really know a matchup?
Yes, because if you think that a certain matchup is in or not in your favor, you haven't explored everything yet. At most, a lot of matchups are 5-5 because somebody knows something about that matchup that just changes the matchup completely. I found something, and I'm not gonna say it for the sake of not saying it. With poison, that's like me and Muhammad were talking about it. It like breaks the matchup, like. So it's definitely a good thing for either Ryu if I do that certain thing, you know. So things like that, you really haven't explored every single thing because it's unlimited. It really is. How can you find or see every single situation? And it really depends. And another thing is, I'm gonna say this with my heart because fireball characters, they are literally unlimited because you can throw a fireball a certain way, and it can change the matchup. You just never know. Something can change. One button with Dawsum can change the button or change the matchup because you're just changing the timing of it. That's it. And some person can do it better than you. You know. Okay. So you just never know. Yeah. You never know.
Okay. Yeah, I would say like if you don't want to fall into that trap or into that way of thinking, then just change your mindset and try to think of it this way. Like you never know a matchup. You've never mastered it. So just keep trying to learn as much as you can constantly. Don't ever say like, okay, I feel comfortable. I'm not going to learn any more about it because I win it every time.
And Daigo is a great example of that. He said that you have to have humility when it comes to fighting games because if you like he said, I remember him saying this when he beat Shin. I think it was 10-0, right? Beat him at the,
I think it was 10-0. Yes.
10-0, and he said, "Who are you looking? Who are you worried the most about? Who's gonna? I think it was Topanga World, and he said Shin because he's gonna come back with something." Now another player would probably say, I beat him 10-0, whatever. And then he ended up beating Shin barely 7-5 or something like that. And Shin was playing extremely impressive throughout all of Topanga. Stuff like that. You have to humble yourself a little bit and think, oh, just because I win a certain matchup in the local events doesn't mean that's the end of the matchup. That's when you start losing to people. And another thing is reactions is a huge part. Fudo is a great example. Certain matchups can be a little bit in their favor, but when Fudo puts on the reactions, it can change the matchup. Like I can't even do Jaguar kick against Fudo because he's just DPing me, Stuff like that. Reactions is huge.
Okay. So I think then that's about it for us. We've covered everything we wanted to talk about. We gave our EVO 2015 reactions to the game list and all that other stuff. And this episode will all be uploaded to YouTube, guys. So I'll put the YouTube link in the chat for you guys to follow along, and then you guys see on our screen right there. You can follow us on Twitter, all that other good stuff. It's.
If you have any questions, just shoot them and see if they could get them on the next show.
Yeah. If you guys have any questions or anything that you guys want to see discussed or talked about, just drop us a line, and we will definitely consider doing that for the next episode because we do want to, ask or have the community's input, and we really do enjoy doing this show. We haven't done one in a while, we haven't done one in almost a year, but we do enjoy doing it. We've all been busy with real life, it's just we felt like this was a good time to come back, and I think probably the last thing before we go is we do have a tournament next week, January 31st. It's called Collision Course. It's in Fresno. You guys should come check it out. Marvel, Ultra, Smash Melee. I think Project M will be there, and Tekken. A lot of those games have pop bonuses. I'll drop the link in the chat, and it'll be in the description in the video.
For the Collision Course?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, don't forget it's not just fighting games. If you guys just don't play fighting games, they have like Halo, Aren't they having like Dota and League or something like that?
No. It's just Halo. It's just Halo,
Oh, it's
but
just Halo?
it's a
Oh.
gaming convention stuff too. There's like
I know they're having cosplay, trading cards.
Wait, are they having Dota?
No.
I thought they were. I thought they were having.
No,
Dota.
to the best of my knowledge, it is only the fighting games and then Halo, and then they have like the Magic the Gathering card games and stuff like that.
Yeah,
That-
they
to
have
the,
those games.
to the best of my knowledge. So, we appreciate you guys tuning in. If you guys like what you heard, you can follow us on YouTube. Our social media stuff is on the screen right there. You can hit that follow button on Twitch. We didn't have time. Well, we'll have to get to that next episode. We usually end the show with the story time, but I think we've kind of gone a little over, of our time. So I guess the last thing we want to go out with is Mike G. We need to hear your. We need to thank one of our sponsors of the show.
We're gonna go back to our sponsors. I was not prepared for my.
Okay. How about just the one sponsor that is sponsoring our own XSK Samurai?
Okay.
Dropped by my previous sponsor. They don't want me promoting.
All right. So, giving a shout out to our sponsor, Marvelous Customs, your number one source for premium custom fight sticks, mods and repairs, wholesale modding opponents, and more. Check them out, marvelouscustoms.com. Buy your buttons, buy your sticks. You can even buy Mikey's shirt there. So, good company. Support it.
And let me tell you guys that we're gonna have a new site actually. I'm actually pretty happy because we have the new Shoe Now buttons. It's like the Marvelous custom buttons, and they have like the chibi Ultimate Marvel versus Capcom 2 characters on there. So definitely stay tuned for that. It's gonna be really, really nice.
Wait, were those the buttons at HodoCon?
Yeah, we haven't had a site up yet, so once it goes up, it's gonna be huge because those buttons are awesome.
Okay, good stuff. So again, guys, thank you for tuning in. You can hit that follow button, subscribe to us, follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and stuff. I will post our Twitter links in the chat and the description. So if you guys have any topics or anything you guys want to talk about for the next show, feel free to just give us feedback and all that good stuff. We're gonna try and do this more often. I swear, guys, we're gonna try and do this more often. But I'd like to thank everybody for coming on. Nick, Mikey, Mike, Javier, thank you guys for taking the time out to do this. This was one of my projects that I've been wanting to do for a few years, so I'm glad that I'm actually sticking through it compared to everything else that's been tossed aside. So, but anyways, guys, thank you for tuning in. Hope to see local players at the tournament next week. It's gonna be pretty hype. Other than that, peace out until next time, guys.
All right, see you
Thanks
guys
for
later.
listening.
See you guys.
Stay beautiful.
Thanks for tuning in.